Thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda is presentation of Carbon County Employee of the Month, Rose Barnes.
Okay, we're still waiting. Can we go on to item 2 while we're waiting for him?
Certainly. Let's go on to presentation to Salika Merrill by Rose Barnes.
Yes. So I would like to thank Salika on behalf of all the employees. Salika, come on up here for a minute. She didn't want this to happen, but it's going to happen. You know, as an employee, Salika has done an amazing job to help morale this last year. She took it upon herself to plan a Christmas dinner, and it was awesome. You know, it was the funnest event. It came together at the last minute, and that did so much. I heard so many positive comments about that. And, you know, as supervisors, we thought we wanted to thank you. She does not want to be thanked. But truly, you know, I mean, I love when employees do something to help out coworkers, and this is above and beyond. And I want to personally thank Salika from the bottom of my heart, because it was a fun evening for those of us who attended. It was great. And, you know, I want to thank her. Now, I'm going to give her this little plaque first, and then we're not finished quite yet, right?
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Okay. So when Rose, I don't know that she really asked that I come to commission meeting. It was more of a, you're expected to be there. And I kind of had an idea that that was what it was for. And I did not want to be recognized because I felt like that was something that I did just for the employees. But without the help of some key people, Tammy Villa and Camilla Bryson and Erica Vergrenig really helped. They stepped up and they wouldn't take no for an answer, and they just came and helped no matter what. And then also Scott kind of got roped into it, so he didn't really have a choice.
So we have some certificates for those people, and they should come up because they did. We have Scott, Merrill, Erica. Is Erica here? Tammy? I can do that, maybe. Camilla, Bryson. And is Kay here?
I wanted to also thank Kay just because at the end of the night, she expressed her appreciation of how much she did enjoy it. And she made Jack give us a tip. So, not only once, but twice. And so I passed that tip on to the people at Tony's Place too, just for helping us. And so I just passed that right along to them. So, but we did have fun, and I'm more than willing to help do it again. So,
this is a perfect example of teamwork, and this is what the county's about. We are a family, and again, Salika, thank you.
thanks.
It was a good party. Thank you.
It was so much fun. Scott and Frank?
Back to number 1.
Yes, we'll go back. Our Employee of the Month this month is Kirk Haney. And I got to know Kirk this last year when Frank was out due to his stroke. And he is a delightful young man. He's always happy. He always, you know, goes above and beyond. And I'm going to let Scott, because Scott was the one that actually nominated him. So I'm going to let Scott speak, and then Frank, because Frank knows how invaluable he is to the county. So let's go ahead.
So back in October, someone asked me if I was going to dress up for work for Halloween. And I jokingly said I was going to put on a USU Eastern baseball hat and a Salem Hills baseball shirt and go as one of the Haney brothers. And the joke in that is that Kirk and his brother Luke, who also works for us, wear that outfit a lot. But what's not a joke is just how smart it would be to imitate Kirk in our own lives. Kirk really is one of those individuals that parents want their sons to grow up to be. They want their daughters to marry young men like him. Kirk is caring and kind and devoted to his schooling, to his work, and to his family. We're blessed to have Kirk working there with us in our department. And as our program coordinator, Kirk plans out all the youth and adult sports seasons. He spends days looking through lists of registrants, trying to put together balanced teams for soccer, flag football, volleyball, basketball, and softball. His work doesn't just end once the teams are made, though. And that, no, after that, he helps make sure our officials are prepared to officiate their games, and they're instructing the youth in a way that they not only have a great season, but also receive an education on the sport and start learning rules and skills that help them as they progress on to junior high and high school programs. And in addition to his responsibilities at Carbon Rec, Kirk is a full-time student at USU Eastern, and he coaches on the baseball team. We're glad he's chosen to spend what time he has left with us. He makes our department and our community better. We find him truly deserving of Employee of the Month recognition this month, and hopefully many more months to come.
Someday I won't have this limp. Kirk's an employee that is more than an employee. He cares so much about what we do. He arranged for us to bring our 3-on-3 basketball program out to the event center. He devised a Wednesday night cornhole league. We do Monday open gym basketball now, and we're averaging about 24 kids coming to play basketball every week. And good enough's not good enough. And someone like Kirk is invaluable to our program, and I hope he just sticks around forever. So, Kirk, well-deserved, man. Thank you. Good job.
And I'd also like to thank this man because he's done an amazing job coming back, and he's a great asset to the county. Thanks, Frank.
Absolutely. Kirk's done a great job. I have one daughter that she's 10 and she plays in the basketball, the Carbon Rec basketball, and they've started calling fouls now, and my daughter got her first 2 fouls ever. She's well on her way to fouling out like me, so good job. That's a different story. Item number 3, approval of minutes. Commissioners, we have one set of minutes. And I don't know if anybody has any changes.
I don't have any changes.
The only change I had, it was a question for, and I know you said you didn't want to talk a whole lot. In the first part of that, Sheriff Wood was giving the presentation of the Employee of the Month. And I don't know if it's appropriate, the individual that was hanging himself, in here, they call him the subject. Is that?
I'm not even sure what you're talking about.
I just thought it would be more personal to have him the person or the individual to make it sound a little more personable. I don't know if that's something that we can do.
You certainly can. Yeah, this individual.
Sure. Because he wasn't, I think when I think of a subject, I think of somebody that's more committing crimes.
Sure.
This was a person in need.
With that change, I'll make the motion.
Commissioners, I have one suggestion, if I might, or concern on number 10. There's a sentence in there that says early psychotic breaks retards growth. I'm not sure what that did. It mean early psychotic breaks retard growth? I'm not sure what was that the phrase that was used, was psychotic breaks? Or was it psychotic episodes? I wonder if it should maybe say early psychotic episodes retard growth. Is what
Karen, does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say having a psychotic break early on.
That is a term of. Well, my question is a psychotic break, is that an official term? That's okay. So I would just say then early psychotic breaks retard growth. Just take off the S. So don't put episodes, let's use.
Then with those 2 corrections, I'll make the motion we accept the minutes.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 4 on the agenda is consideration of possible approval of a resolution number 2019-2, authorizing 1 million Carbon County, Utah Special Assessment Bonds, Series 2019, Special Assessment Area 2015-1, establishing the initial interest rate and manner for setting the adjusted interest rate after the initial period, prescribing the forms of the bonds, setting forth the maturity and denomination of said bonds and related matters. That's a mouthful.
Commissioners, these bonds are for the payment of the Hill Subdivision Road Project, also known as the Hill Subdivision Assessment Area or Assessment Area 2015-1. But as you know, the county has entered into a contract to pay for the paving of the Hill Subdivision, and that paving is going to ultimately be paid by the residents living within Hill Subdivision. They are each receiving a special assessment of approximately $55,000, which will enable the full amount of the Hill Subdivision paving project to be paid solely by them and not by county taxpayers. However, we are still required to get a special assessment area bond so that we can front that money and pay for that. But that bond and the interest will be paid for by those residents. So this bond gives us the cash to be able to pay for and complete the project. If I would just point out a couple things, it is an amount up to $1 million. So it may not be exactly that amount, it may be less. The bond can be paid for early before it's mature. It cannot go over $1 million in aggregate principal. It would have to be amended to do that. The initial interest rate is 3.5%. It can be adjusted after December 13th of 2023. The bonds, as I said, could be prepaid. This bond is being issued by Cache Valley Bank, so it was exciting, I think, to have a local lender be able to provide help to the county on it. For us, this is a fairly large-scale amount and a significant amount, and it means a lot to our residents and to those who are affected by this special assessment area that we could receive such good terms from a local bank. So within the resolution is contained the form of the bond that you'll be signing and approving, and so once that official amount is determined, that bond can be issued, or it may be issued initially with just the $1 million amount. But the bond is limited to being used for the purpose of paying the principal and interest on the bond, and monies received through the treasurer must be segregated and placed in a regular fund to be designated the Special Assessment Fund of Carbon County, Utah, Special Assessment Area 2015-1, and the money received for that must be used for no other purpose. So the bond requires segregation of that money, so there's no doubt it'll be used for this purpose, and there is no other county is not required to make any special guarantee agreement in addition to the bond. It's simply the bond, and will be paid for by the special assessment.
The only question I had was, have we set up that account, or are we in the process of setting up that account?
Yeah, Kay will set it up.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with the bonding. It's great to have a local company that can provide that. So yeah, we'll move forward with the local bonding for the Hilltop subdivision. On resolution number 2019-2.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Tony, is your mic on? Can you hear me now? Hello. Okay, we're good.
Item number 5 on the agenda, open sealed bids for Carbon County 2019 Emergency Watershed Protection Schedules 1, 2, and 3. Curtis, do you want to address this? We have some changes to that.
As you know, we've been working with the NRCS, who is funding this project, to get these projects going. Kind of late in the game, the NRCS has kind of changed some of their expectations on one of these schedules. I think it's Schedule 1. Those issues are probably not going to be able to be resolved in a timely manner. So what we've done is taken that portion of the project out of this bid process, and it will be considered later so that we can move forward with the other 2 schedules that remain on track. By pulling that out, the one schedule, we need to give the contractors a little bit more time to refine their bid and to make it reflect the new scope of work. So we have notified the bidders that bids will be due a week from today, and that there will be a public bid opening, not in a commission meeting, but a public meeting where anyone can attend, and we'll open those bids and then proceed from there.
And it was a mandatory pre-construction meeting, or pre-bid meeting, so we know who all the contractors are that would be
right,
adjusting their bids.
This delay or this extension of time to submit bids only includes those who were at the mandatory pre-bid meeting. So information did not have to go out to all contractors throughout the state. We're working with the same individuals, and all we've done is extend the scope slightly, or change the scope slightly and extend the date for bids to be due.
So commissioners, it would probably be good if you formally made a motion to set that date upon which where the bids will be opened, and the place and time for that to happen.
Possibly include how the awarding of that would happen as well.
Yes, yes.
Curtis, do you have a date and a time that those are due?
Yes. So we've selected Wednesday, February 13th. The location will be the first floor conference room in this building. Bids will be due at the clerk's office by 4:00 p.m. and the bid opening will take place at 4:30. Do you want me to speak to how it will go from there, or do you want to take that, Commissioner Hopes? So once the bids are opened, we'll acknowledge, receipt of the bids and bonds as we typically do, and then we'll take those bids and process them like we do for all other bids received, look at the unit pricing and the overall bid values to make sure there's no errors, and then we'll make a recommendation for award at that point.
Okay.
I'd make the motion that we go ahead and authorize this change of date for the bid opening. Is it February 13th at 4 p.m. In the conference room on the first floor, and that at 4:30 they're opened and read publicly, and that you and your staff review those and accept the low bid and award it.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 6, open sealed bids for up to 3,000 ton of UDOT spec hot mix asphalt road department.
We received 2 bids. The first one's from Nelson Construction. And these bids have several different aspects and items in them, so There won't be necessarily a unit. This bid's lower than this other one without looking at them. If you want to speak towards that.
Yeah, I'll speak to that. So one of the things that we did in this year when we went out for asphalt, we requested that each of the bidders provide 15 different prices, which kind of sounds like a lot, but what it does is it allows us to have a bid price for 3 different gradations of material. So 3/8 inch material, 1/2 inch material, 3/4 inch material. And within each one of those gradations to have varying percentages of recycled asphalt product, anywhere from 0% to 30%. So there's 5 different combinations within each gradation. So to try and compare those in this meeting, it might be a little bit difficult, but I guess I would propose for this particular bid that that I'd be allowed to take these and then make a direct comparison off of the bids and then present that to you, and we go from there.
Second bid was from Geneva Rock.
Now, Curtis, will the engineering be reviewing this, or will this be the road department?
Together. We'll look at it together.
Okay. I'll make a motion then that we accept these bids, acknowledge the bids, and then let the engineering and road department review for their, make sure that they're correct and accurate, and then advise on how they want to proceed.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 7, memorandum of understanding between the Utah Highway Safety Office and Carbon County Sheriff's Department.
To excuse me for my voice. I don't have much of one left. So several years ago, the state mandated that all traffic accident reports are filed electronically. We've been using FatPot up to this point in time. FatPot is now TELUS. The program that the accident reporting was built on is going out of date. Microsoft can no longer support the base of the program anymore. So they've written a whole new program, and of course they don't want to give that to us for free. So the state has set aside a large sum to help agencies like ours. The entire cost of the project is $11,793, which the state's agreed to refund the entire cost of that. So we just need to pay for it up front, and once the project is completed, they will reimburse us.
Okay.
And how long does it take to complete the project?
I don't know. It's just all server-based. They'd probably just have to get with IT department and schedule it in probably a few weeks.
Weeks, not months, years?
I hope not. Well, it has to be in place by the end of July, so that's when the new changes in the state take effect. And it says if we don't get it started by the end of March, they assess another $2,000 fee, but I don't think that should be a problem. So.
Okay.
And then paying for this service they would install, or does somebody locally need to, does the IT department?
They do the installation.
Okay. I have no more questions.
I have no questions. So
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we approve this request to, for the Utah Highway Safety Office and Carbon County Sheriff Department to move forward with this. And Seth, I guess we're okay doing it that way.
Yeah.
With the money being
Yeah,
paid
we'll
up
be
front.
overfund.
Okay. So I'll make that motion.
Okay, I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I forgot to mention the papers I gave you on the 3rd page. It has a breakdown of what the funds are for and everything, where they go to. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8, review and possible approval of donations for Warrior Days event on August 31st. Greg Dart and Monty Jensen.
Thank you, Commissioners. I need to apologize for Monty Jensen. He is stuck up north because he makes bad decisions in his life. So, yeah, I told him we just ran out of sunscreen down here. But thank you for the opportunity to come before and speak to you about something that we're pretty excited about at USU Eastern and with some other groups, and that's the idea of bringing back Warrior Days in a little bit different iteration than what was presented to the county last year. Warrior Days is a great event where we have an opportunity to honor some of our nearly 1,200 veterans in this county. Those are the ones that we are accounted for, and put on a good county event. In discussions, we've talked about the possibility of doing a one-day event and doing it right when students come back for campus, and so that's kind of our interest in it, is those two things. We want to be a part of honoring veterans, and then also having events that our students can do out in the community off campus. And so we've looked at a one-day event of bull riding and a concert, and looked at August 31st as a possible date for that. That's a Saturday, and it's a Saturday of Labor Day weekend. The event's something that we think would be a benefit to the community, to our veterans, and then to our campus. And so that's why we come before today. We aren't asking necessarily for donations, but basically a sponsorship. There are 4 things that we're looking for. We're looking to hold this event, of course, at the fairgrounds. And it's a perfect venue for what we're trying to do. And we'd be asking for 4 things. One, where this is an event that wouldn't be run by the county this year as it was last year, we're asking that the county consider waiving the venue fee, that the use of gates and a forklift, and extending liability insurance and the liquor license that the county has for this event. And so that's really our request, and hopefully it's an opportunity to put on a good event for the county.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
No questions, we're just broke.
I understand. That's why I didn't ask you for money.
We've
We can extend our liquor license. We have to check with the alcohol beverage.
That's one thing that we had talked about internally today was can the liquor license be extended, or does the county just do that and collect the fees from that?
Thank you. So I looked into that a little bit, and it's upon the discretion of the county, based on it being a community event. And so in essence, it would be in the name of the county if you would be sponsoring us as a community event. And that's how it would have to be on the application. Carbon County would be the applicant on behalf of Warrior Days. And if it were that way, then it would work. Otherwise, if we were to try to do it ourselves, we'd have to pay the appropriate fees and actually get a bond and insurance. However, it appears that it is within the powers and authority of the county to extend that, which would be a huge cost savings to the event. And in return for the sponsorship, one of the items is that we'll be doing quite a bit of advertising the university as a partner. In lieu of actual monetary donation, we'll also be paying for a lot of the advertising in the area and out of the area, and we would be advertising the sponsors, one of which would be considered the county and the fairground, and making known in Salina, Nephi, or some of the areas that you guys advertise in. The 6 counties, all of what is Eastern Utah plus Sanpete and Sevier County. So there would be an exchange for something that doesn't cost you any money, but it would be saving us a lot in the process. And it would allow us to get a bigger name to our area, because we would use those dollars that we'd otherwise spend to actually get a better performing artist, which hopefully would draw more people here.
Now, when we talk about liquor license, are you talking about hard liquor or just beer? Because there's a difference in how those work. a liquor license is more strenuous, and we only have so many of those for events throughout the year. If we do beer only, it's a different story, and the county could provide that. And I guess that's part of my question is why don't, if alcohol is something that you want at the event, normally whoever comes on and puts on the event has the county provide that anyway.
Yeah.
And then the county would receive the funds from it.
Right now, in attending the meetings of the people interested, one of the big sponsors and other such interested parties has expressed that they do want alcohol and they do want premixed drinks, which does require a hard liquor license. However, it's not people mixing drinks. They all come purchased in a bottle just like a beer can or a beer bottle. And so it's easy to handle and to supervise. I did send an email to Christian just explaining that whatever requirements county volunteers or county employees would fall under, we would be more than willing to have our volunteers who serve provide the same licenses and information to the county so that everything would fall under the state guidelines and there wouldn't be anything amiss.
Okay, I think there's quite a few questions, and that need to be answered as we move forward with this. Having an event like this, who's going to provide security? Obviously, if you're going to set up an event like this with liquor or with beer, you have to have a beer garden. Who's going to provide? Is USU going to provide the officers and the staff? Do we need to have an ambulance? There are a lot of costs associated with putting on an event like this that we need to make sure are covered.
For every potential 50 people who might be drinking, you need to have at least one staff member identified. And that staff member, it would be considered the person for security, of which we have more than sufficient people there attending the event already that would be able to provide that requirement within the state guidelines. And we'd definitely be able to provide those names ahead of time if needed.
And as far as police coverage, USU police would be covering the event.
Commissioners, one other item that I'd mention is that historically, especially when fees are asked to be waived, you've asked for people, I don't know that it's been a hard and fast requirement, but the preference has always been to have applicants come where we've got a group, that group actually assumes some kind of form itself into some kind of actual formal body, either as a limited liability company, like a nonprofit LLC, a nonprofit corporation. And it's also much easier to justify under state code if we're waiving fees if that group has received 501c3 status. Beyond that, I think it's good policy to require that a group of people coming together actually have be a formal entity or be a formal body, rather than an amorphous group of individuals, just because there's a line of accountability that then our employees can know who they're to talk to when they're coordinating with the event. We can know if one partner in the event backs out, is the event still going to happen? Do we know, is somebody going to fill in that person's shoes? So it's not something that by policy or by written policy you have to require that, but that is something that we've looked for and that's been a benefit to the county when there actually has been a formal entity. In corresponding with Jake by email, he informed me that he anticipates the group will be formed as a 501c3 group and have that status by the time of the event. And I would expect that's right, although the IRS is the one granting that status, and so we can never be sure. But I think it makes it so much easier if the group comes as an organized group with people who you can say, this is the chairman of our body. We've registered an LLC or a cooperative association, or we are a nonprofit, a Utah nonprofit corporation or a Utah nonprofit LLC awaiting our 501c3 status, because then there's accountability and there's direction, and it makes it much easier to line up. We know who we're dealing with, and especially when we're talking about such a large area that's going to be rented and used. I think I would recommend that in the future we consider adopting formally such a policy. We don't have such a requirement now, but I just think that's something we need to look at. And that's just a word to the wise, I guess. It's the commission's decision whether or not they want to require that, but it sure does help. It makes it easier for us to know who we're dealing with when we've got a formal group sponsoring the event.
And we would have no objection to that stipulation at all.
So is USU Eastern the director, or who is the director of the
No,
group?
so USU Eastern is not directing this, and the fact that there's alcohol served would mean that it would not be our event. We are a sponsor of that event, but the plan has been to establish a 501c3.
So I think we could establish a director or board or committee and maybe have some of these conversations that and questions that Christian just arose to. I think that'd be a good thing. Also, the event, is it going to be similar to last year? Is it going to be different? What's the proposal other than just an event?
Go ahead. It's a one-day event.
Exactly as Greg was mentioning, a one-day event. What we're going to do is array things a little bit differently in the arena. It's going to cost us a little bit more. We're going to have to bring in some mobile bucking chutes so that the bulls will be coming in from the southeast corner. And then the stage will be set up also at the same time, or, it'll be there ready so that there won't be any transition from one event to another. The stage for the entertaining artist will be in the northeast corner. And then the entire half of the arena not being used, that is closest to the stadium, will be used for Carbon County's banner, for the university's banner, for banners and advertisements of the sponsors, as well as there will be a Jumbotron right in the center. The Jumbotron will portray, since it's somewhat a little bit farther away, it'll portray on a big screen what event is happening, as well as advertise for those sponsors little 15 and 30-second video clips. And so during the event, there will be a lot of notoriety given to the people who made it all possible. And we view those individuals who are considered platinum level sponsors, they actually are being asked to have a person serve as a member of the board. And in an email that I also had sent, I had mentioned that in a lot of communities, not necessarily ours, I may have served in a limited capacity doing some of those duties, but in a lot of different areas, there's a county commissioner who serves somewhat as a liaison for the veterans organizations as a whole, because there are several organizations. And one of the things that we hope to accomplish here is to provide some fundraising for the various organizations. As has come to, as has been mentioned in various community meetings recently, there is a dire need for a veterans resource center here locally, whether that's in conjunction with the county or if that's something that they raise their money and they get their own building and they do on their own. Currently, a lot of their facilities, they are limited in what they're able to do because they don't own the building, or they do, but there's not really good ADA access, or there's other limitations because of age, or, there needs to be a facility that is available to our veterans, all 1,200 of them that are part of an association, let alone all those who are not part of an association, that they can get help with PTSD, they can get help with employment, they can get back on their feet and get the assistance they need from having served in the armed forces. So the arrayment of the arena will be a little bit different. It'll all be one day, and we're probably going to spend about the same money, or actually a little bit more, but it's all being paid for this year by sponsors, private sponsors, as well as entities such as the county, allowing us necessarily, not giving us money, but allowing us to save quite a bit of money so that we can put this together in a good way.
My question, I guess not a question, maybe even a comment, is just we're in the middle of trying to figure out what to do with the venues that we do have and the costs associated with them. Most everybody is a nonprofit, and the the expense at the fairgrounds and the event center are subsidized extremely heavy by tax dollars. And so we're trying to come up with a formula that would work, and if we give it away once, we end up giving it away to everybody. So in my mind, I haven't got a good answer for you tonight. We have been working on this for over a month, and we've got a lot of information in front of us now, but we have to plug the hole somehow. We're bleeding to death. And so that's one vein. The other one is just this idea of, as a community, we can't do something every weekend. The people in the community don't have the resources to do that, and so somehow we ought to consolidate with the city, the county, and make an event for our community that is reasonable, people could come to and enjoy a couple of days, and not have it spread out over the whole summer. So those are two thoughts, and this may be something that could be combined with the fair or another activity. But we see the numbers continue to drop with most events, and that's discouraging, but we have so many of them.
So first off, we didn't come tonight expecting that we'd have an answer tonight. We figured we wanted to put it in front of the commission, and second, we're very mindful of the things that you're saying, and so thank you.
Yeah. Well, and if I might just bring up three things. I failed in all my rambling to mention that we want on this committee, considering Carbon County as a major sponsor, to have one of you three be a part of the program and help plan it and make it happen. Secondly, if there's going to be an exception made for anybody who is going to have an activity, nonprofit or whatever, we plan on actually doing a large amount of advertising on behalf of all the sponsors, which is perhaps something different than what most people are offering. People may just ask because it's a good cause, but like you're saying, we got to plug the holes. And then lastly, this is an event not only that pulls in locals, but ideally brings people from outside of the community to our area, which is kind of, if we're going to separate all the activities that we do here in the community, we want, for the tourism dollars, for the restaurant tax dollars, for all of those things, we want to be doing more that our locals can benefit from for sure, but that also bring people from outside of the area here. And all of that ideally will happen with this event, as well as be a fundraising source for our local veterans.
So with that, I think one offer that we have is that through the tourism, the restaurant and hotel tax dollars that come in, is we would ask you to go before the tourism board and see if they wouldn't give you the money that we would need to take care of our end of it. And I've got an application here if you'd like to do that. You need to be on a quarterly meeting with Tina, so you get plugged in. These funds are going out quarterly, and she's kind of changing what she's doing to try to help out. So I do have that for you.
The other thing that would be helpful is if we could get kind of a basic idea of what you're planning, so that we can figure out what the cost would be. You talked about having a forklift and bucking chutes and the total setup. I know that was one of the things that drove up the costs of the event last year was having the bull riding one night, tearing it down. The employees were there all week, from energy days through the weekend to the last event, which was the concert. But then between the bull riding and the concert, they were there till 1 or 2 o'clock in the evening. So if we have an idea of what the event looks like and how much setup time, that helps us understand what the donation looks like if that were to happen.
Right, and there'll be more discussions, but as far as that goes, it currently is designed to where if the arena is prepped like it's always prepped, the only thing that we would need potentially. And it's not that we need it, though we would ask that one employee did like they did last year, and they bring the gates over. All they did was drive the forklift, and volunteers set up the field just like the high school rodeo does. There are volunteers from the college rodeo. Monty would have spoken to that if he were here. Everything's ready to go and ready to be set up. The people bringing the mobile bucking chutes will have their own individuals to set all that up and tear it down. As the people bringing the stage will set it up and tear it down. There won't be any need for any county employees to exert any effort other than that one employee during normal working hours, assuming that that's okay. That's actually the lowest item on the list of 4 items that we're asking. Potentially, instead of just one county employee, there's another sponsor here in town that is willing to come and bring their own gates, but it would be 3 or 4 of their employees. And from efficiency, it wouldn't take just a little bit of time of one county employee, which does cost money to use a forklift to go and just drive from where the gates are stored to the arena. It's not necessary, but it would be helpful.
With your plans, like, you know, as they come together, sitting down with Frank and Scott, they can put together what their estimates are. And I mean, that's really what we're asking them to do when they've put together already most of it, to whereas someone comes in and needs the facilities, they sit down and ask all the questions and come up with what they estimate it will cost to do it. And I guess that's the tough part, is providing the services there free, and then everybody is going to come in and want the same thing. So that, at least for me, that's where I'm stuck. I don't know what to do, because most everybody that comes is a nonprofit, and this sounds like a great event. I'm not trying to downplay it in any way. It's just we have every day someone comes in and wants something that's going to cost us money, and we're just saying no, we don't have it. We have to stop. So we got to plug the hole.
Thank you.
I'd like to add too, just to make sure and that we're all clear, is we're not opposed to this. We're not opposed to honoring the military. All of us know or have family members who are military, former commissioners that were in the military. So we're not against this. We just can't fund it. And you mentioned that you have sponsors. I think that's a great avenue. You're planning it a lot earlier than last time. It may be coming together for you. But to echo what Larry said, you know, and you know very well how the budgets are, there's not extra money in them. You can't cut certain programs and then give things away. So if we can help in any certain way, we'd love to, but financially, we just can't do it.
You know, it may seem like a no big deal to have employees help while they're out there because they're on the payroll, but this goes on all summer. So everything they do is getting ready for these kinds of things, and then they're there when they happen. So if we didn't have these events, we wouldn't have the employees out there that are on the payroll and all the equipment and stuff that goes into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Look forward to seeing some more information.
Okay.
Thanks. Item number 9, review and possible approval of the addendum to the agreement establishing the Southeastern Utah Association of Governments.
Hi, I'm Jerry Gamber. I'm the Executive Director at the AOG. Our interlocal agreement began over 50 years ago. 1970 is when AOGs were established under that interlocal agreement to manage block grants. And 1979 is when it was ratified, so this year is our 50th year. Under the Utah Code, it can only last 50 years. So that's what we're asking for, another 50.
Only if you can
just
guarantee,
another 50 years.
Only
if you can guarantee we'll be alive in another 50 years.
I don't think that will be there.
I don't have any questions. It's just what we've been doing, I guess, for a long time. Yeah. I'll make the motion that we, Christian, do you have any comments about this?
No, I don't have concerns about it. I don't know that it's necessary, but I don't have an objection to doing it.
I'll make the motion that we entered into this agreement to establish the Southeastern Utah Association of Governments agreement.
And just an FYI, the other 3 counties involved have signed as well. Yeah, the last county.
Okay. Which are Grand, San Juan, Emery?
Yeah, Emery, Grand, San Juan. Yep.
Okay.
And you guys.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do, Jared.
Item number 10 on the agenda, public hearing for input regarding mental health and substance use disorder treatment needs in Carbon County. Karen Dolan, Executive Director of Four
Hi.
Corners.
So I'm really glad I'm not asking for money.
Do we?
I'm Karen Dolan. I'm the Director of Four Corners, and I thought because there are 2 new commissioners, I might just give an overview of kind of what we do. We're here because the state law and Medicaid contract requires us to have a yearly public hearing where we get input from the public and feedback, and that's how we begin our planning process. So Four Corners is here to facilitate this public hearing for the counties. So the counties are the local mental health and substance abuse authority by state law, and the counties in 1972 created Four Corners to do that for the counties. So we are an agency developed by the 3 counties, 4 originally, but 3 now. San Juan dropped off in 1986, but we just kept the name. We are formed through interlocal agreement. We have a county commissioner from each of the 3 counties and 3 citizen members on our board of trustees, and that's our authority board. Medicaid contracts with Four Corners to be the sole source provider, which means for behavioral health, for mental health and substance abuse. We have about 5,000 eligibles, 5,000 people on Medicaid in the Tri-County area. And Four Corners has the highest penetration rate of services throughout the state. So we serve more Medicaid eligibles than any other behavioral health center in the state, and we're pretty proud of that. With Medicaid expansion that looks like it's gonna happen probably maybe April, maybe later, that will probably allow for 3,000 more Medicaid eligibles in our 3-county area. So we'll expand, and people will have insurance. It's likely that we're seeing most of those people anyway because we're funded through state and federal block grants for people that don't have funding. We have a zero-based sliding scale fee, so someone that can't afford to pay. We have different grants. We write about 25 grants a year along with our Medicaid contract to fund safety net services. So we don't necessarily compete with the private sector. We provide, if somebody has private insurance, they can go to a private therapist. They can come to us too if they want to. But we pretty much provide safety net services. We have our people with mental illness and with substance use disorder untreated can pose public safety issues. And so we're part of public safety. We work with law enforcement to help people be the best they can be and to reduce public safety problems. I have about 100 employees, 100 of the most dedicated people you've ever met that really care about their fellow man and come to work every single day to serve sometimes the most disabled and the most vulnerable in our counties. We have 24-hour-a-day crisis services, so we have a therapist on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We serve the ICUs in Moab Regional and Castleview, the ERs, and Med-Surg too. We do all the civil commitments, so if somebody needs to be committed to the hospital because they're a danger to self or others, we do that as well. We hospitalize about 60 people a year in the Tri-County area, and we take about 2,000 emergency calls, which is saving a lot of lives. So my staff work hard to keep people stable and in the least restrictive environment. So we have about 5,000 Medicaid eligibles. We serve about 1,200 of those every year. And these are people that come in voluntarily. They come in because they're court ordered. We have 5 different drug courts that we serve, 2 in Carbon, 2 in Grand, and 1 in Emery. In Carbon County, we have maybe 60 people in our high-risk drug court and about 20 in our family drug court. This is a prison diversion program to help people who have nonviolent drug offenses to get back on their feet and back into the community. It's a really successful program. We have outpatient clinics in each county, and we serve people with mental health treatments and substance use disorder treatment. We just opened Operation Recovery, and we're very excited about that. As you know, we have had a pretty serious opioid problem in our Carbon-Emery counties, and this is an OTP, so an opioid treatment program. We're serving 55 people a day coming in for medicine and treatment every single day, and it's a great success. So we're real happy about that. And that's grant funded for another 4 years. We have 2 clubhouses, one in Carbon and one in Moab, for people with serious and persistent mental illness, people that have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. And we have probably more housing than most places in the state. We have about 45 beds in our various housing projects for people with serious mental illness. And having housing stabilizes people. It really allows them to stay on their meds and get the support they need, and not become sicker and more disabled. And we also have a pretty robust prevention effort. We're working hard in our counties to get upstream and to build resiliency with our children so that they don't then have mental health or substance abuse problems later. So this is Kara Cunningham. She's our clinic director here in Carbon County. She has our biggest clinic and manages most of the staff of our agency. And so our services are cost avoidant. We are grant funded and Medicaid funded. And the jobs that we bring in, we have about 100 employees. 70 are full-time employees with Utah State retirement and sick leave, vacation days. They're good, solid jobs. You can buy a house and raise a family. And so that's Four Corners in a nutshell. So I would like to say thank you. This is our public hearing. So if anybody wants to, if you have questions or.
Okay, if you're ready to move to that, we'll open up the public hearing. Okay, we'll open up the public hearing at 5:27. Anybody that would like to speak to this, please come to the mic, state your name, and address the topic at hand.
Hi, my name is Heather Barker, and I am a felony drug court participant, and I love Four Corners. They've been there for me for the get. I just celebrated 10 months of clean time just the other day. I don't think Karen mentioned they have like a transitional living, sober living too, that I was the first person that was accepted into that. It's given me a chance to, I got my kids back. I now manage the Subway and Walmart. I'm doing really good. I have classes down there. Whenever I'm like freaking out, I always, call the crisis line. My therapist is amazing, and I just appreciate Four Corners and what they do for this town. I see Karen a lot at the Opioid Coalition that we do every month, and it's just really important to me. I was born and raised in Price. I left for 22 years, came back to a horrible heroin addiction, and I didn't think I could get clean in Price because of Four Corners, and they really do care about their people and helping the town get clean, so I really appreciate them.
I just want to say thanks to Heather for you've been attending all of the coalition meetings. You've made great progress, and congratulations. Keep going with it.
Thank you. You're up.
I'm Tawny Manzanares, and I've been in the drug court program, the felony drug court program. I've been clean for a little over a year. Without Four Corners, I wouldn't have a place to live. I would be homeless, and I use them. They help me with everything. If I'm triggered or anything, I can call them, and anybody there will help you. Like, you can just walk in and talk to the people up front, and they're like, have you help within a few minutes. Kara's awesome. She's my counselor, and she's been my counselor for like 10 years. She's been there for me through everything in my life. So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
How are you today?
Good.
My name's Rodney Wild. I've talked to Tony about a couple issues I've got right now. I don't know if anybody has had to use the ambulance service here in town, but
So is this addressing the substance or Four Corners mental
No.
health? This is a public hearing
Okay.
specifically for Four Corners
Okay.
mental health and the topic at hand.
when they're done, can I maybe say a few words?
It's not on the agenda. It would need to be on the agenda. Is that correct, Christian?
Yes, you could allow that, but typically that's not been your practice. I mean, it's at your discretion, but typically you've always historically required people to speak only to agenda items.
And if I'd have known that, I would have done it, because I talked to Tony probably, what, 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah.
About what I wanted to say, and so if I'd have known I'd had to
Well, you can
get in
always,
line, I'd have done it.
well, you can always give any comments to the commissioners through their office here,
Yeah.
through the secretary, that pertain to the county, but you can't just show up at a county commission meeting and ask to be heard about general matters that aren't on the agenda.
Well, I can, in the past, with the radio stations, I was able to just come up and talk. Back in the day when we sold Tony Basso the radio station, and that was probably 8 years ago, I was able to just get up and voice my opinion. And I just.
Yeah, that's not how it works now, so.
Okay. All right, well, when's your next meeting?
The
2 weeks.
Yep.
2
We'll
weeks?
get you on the agenda for next meeting.
If you'll contact Jeannie Hawk,
Okay.
she's the commission secretary. She can get you on the agenda.
Okay, I'll see you next
week. If you can provide any information in advance of that, it's helpful so we can prepare if there's
Well,
questions.
I'll let them know
Appreciate
what
it.
I want to talk about.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you. Sorry.
That's all right.
Part of the reason for that is it makes it, if there is a decision that needs to be made or can be made, it allows us to act on it appropriately. Anyone else that would like to speak to the Four Corners Mental Health? Seeing no one else coming to the mic, we'll close this public hearing at 5:32. Do we need a motion on this, Christian?
I don't think so. We're just supposed to have the public hearing, isn't that correct? So I don't think a motion's necessary.
Did you? I saw you raise your hand. Did you want to speak to the?
Agenda item number 8. You did no. You made no. As a point of order, you made no discussion, no table for further discussion to continue this. You did not open up to discussion before it was tabled or otherwise. There was no motion or anything else done. And I just had a couple questions.
So you can revisit that, but commissioners, typically at a public meeting, this is your business meeting. This is not the public's meeting. The public is invited to hear your discussion and observe, but unless items are specifically listed as public hearings, they're not open to the public to comment on. You can allow comment, but you're under no obligation to. So a request was made, I suppose, for certain items. I think you all indicated you were not willing to approve those, but I would, given his motion, I would recommend that you recall number 8 and probably make a formal motion to table those requests that were made by Mr. Miller and Mr. Dart. And then if you want to take any further comment, you can, but to me, you made yourselves clear as to the disposition of it, is that you're looking for additional information. So I would agree he's got a good point with respect to our parliamentary procedure, and so I would recommend at some point you revisit number 8.
Okay, so are we done with item number 10? Is there any other action that needs to be on?
No, I don't believe there needs to be anything else with number 10.
Moving from item number 8, or back to item number 8, is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I one of you ought to make a motion to reopen item number 8.
I'll make a motion that we revisit item number 8.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now at this point, you can make a motion to table further discussion on that, or if you wish to open it to the public, you can.
Commissioners, do you have any choice on whether you want to open it to the public?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I can talk.
Yeah.
Come on
Okay.
in.
It sounds like we're okay to allow you to please come to the mic and state your name. Thanks.
Afternoon, my name's David Jellin. I'm a resident of the county and a veteran. Thank you for revisiting this. I just saw it as a point of order.
What was your last name again?
Jellin.
Jellin.
Saw it as a point of order because nothing was tabled, though the general intonation was to say no. You did push them off to
The general intonation, I didn't say it was to say no. It was to postpone further decisions until further information was made.
Right. Okay, excuse me. Therefore, it wasn't tabled, and you suggested another resource like the tourism board. Not hearing it being tabled and therefore not open to discussion, I had 2 questions. One is, you mentioned, Mr. Johnson, Commissioner, what I would call or refer to as activity fatigue, too many things going on. What is the intended use or pace of operations for the county fairgrounds?
They're there for the public to use, and my comment was about the decrease in the turnout to the number of events that occur, and that's making us look close at whether we do some of them or not.
Would it make a difference if this group or any other group did not ask for money or for deductions or for waivers of fees? So if someone wanted to hold an event 3 weekends in a row, you would disagree with that then based on that?
No, just at the county's involvement in it.
Okay. All right. You also alluded to a county fair. When and where is that? And who's in charge of that?
That's the county's. Scott, what's the date of it?
August.
The second week in August.
And
On a
to that point too, typically it's been a 4 to 5 day event, and because of shortfalls, we're looking at shortening that to possibly 2 or 3 days.
So I believe when I talked to Frank earlier, it was the 13th through the 17th. Does that sound right? Or sometime 15th to the 17th, depending on how long.
Some of that may have changed to be in conjunction with the demolition derby to involve that in. Our previous discussions have been more like 6 through the 10.
So dates are ranging anywhere from 6th to the 19th or 17th?
Yeah, so
there's no set date for the fair as we're still trying to plan that.
Okay.
So the dates that have been proposed were the 8th, 9th, and 10th, or the 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Okay. Through the 17th. The reason I ask is I've not heard of anything of a county fair. So if a group was to try and do something for a group, whether it's for veterans or the Red Cross, to suggest that possibly the county fair might usurp it would be pretty interesting if we knew more about the fair and when and what, just as a point of information.
Yeah, and that's why we bring in, I made the comment about trying to consolidate some of these activities.
Okay.
I think it'd be wise for us as a community to do that.
So is the county paying for that, or is the county fair organization paying for that for the county's fees?
Typically that's put on by the county. Last year, the majority of the money was spent on Warrior Days, and there was very little money. It was mostly the county board, or the county fair board had solicited donations to put on the county fair last year.
So it needed donations as well. Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I would recommend you make a motion with respect to the formal requests. There were 4 formal requests made by Mr. Miller and Mr. Dart. If we're going to be called on points of parliamentary procedure, let's make a motion to formally deal with each one of those. So with request to You can do it as one motion for all four of the requests, but I would recommend you make a motion with respect to your decision on those items. So as you recall, there was a request to waive fees. There was a request to extend, to not require insurance or extend insurance. There was a request to allow them to serve and sell alcohol and retain the sales from those alcohol sales. And there was a request to, I believe, have county personnel move equipment and assist with the work. And as you said, I think your inclination was to table all of these pending further information. So I think a simple motion to table all four of those requests would be sufficient, if that's still your inclination.
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we table the 4 items that were brought to us by Greg Dart and Jake Miller, which included to extend the liability insurance, to waive the arena rental fees, to extend our liquor license, and also for the use of employees and forklifts to bring in the gates, that we table that until further information is brought forth to us.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Commissioners, we have one more item on the agenda to adjourn. Do we have a motion?
I'll make it.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Drive safe and buckle up.